Hey everyone, VC, as I often start my videos, family and friends, coming at you with my latest sit down in front of the camera. And as I do this, I have a couple things in mind I want to remember to kind of have as a thread throughout here. One is I see that I'm about to, I'm approaching 8,000 subscribers. I'm up to 7,996 as of last time I just looked, which I just happened to, I see it. I can't help but notice, and then it wasn't, the video that is set for you to watch when you're introduced to my channel is the 7,000 subscribers video. So here I am doing 8,000. It's like, wow. So I want to talk about that a little bit, but I want to dedicate this video to Daddy Rob Paneeks in Boston. Rob, I know you've been along on this ride for the greater part that I know of. I was meant to look and see when I started making VC videos. It's been several years now. But this is how we became acquainted, and this is how we are acquainted, is through the camera, through the VC, through the internet, and record collecting. Lots of love and respect for you, Rob. Seriously, never mean to, hurt your feelings when I rant about Led Zeppelin. Of course, you remember I sent you that Led Zeppelin, And I've been meaning to say that there's a picture of you with Morrissey where you met him, where you look better. I just want to let you know, in that picture, you're both killing it, but you definitely gave Morrissey a run for the money as far as the looks in the picture. So, I want to dedicate this video to you. And the other reason is Boston and the snowstorm up there has been on my mind, and I've been watching news reports about it. I'm actually going to open up my YouTube and see what channel it is on YouTube that I've been going to for updates. WCVB, Channel 5 Boston, has been the main one where I've been watching their updates, because I'll talk about music real quick here, but in my mind, and I don't care if people think I'm crazy, and I know that some people do, in my mind, the way that the world is going now, when I look at it in a big picture sort of way, this weather, whatever it is it climate change? Is it a natural movement of the way that the climate is working on the planet? Or is it somehow related to some of the alleged, actually proven weather tampering that's gone on historically? And the reason why I bring that up is because it makes sense to me, since we don't actually know. Even though I'm not a scientist, I'm certain that you can only predict to a certain degree. If you do one thing with the weather in one place, you can only predict what the boomerang effect will be. You don't really know, So who knows? This incredible amount of snow and cold that we've been experiencing could be related, to something that was done, and unexpectedly. This is, these things don't escape my imagination. So Boston has been on my mind, and the other thing I would just want to say, again, socially, these things, I ponder a lot, but the news reports about people, getting bored and jumping out of windows into snow piles. Well, what's to be expected from youth, and also what is to be expected from people when the general tenor of the media, which is the voice of society, does not encourage sanity. It doesn't encourage education. It doesn't encourage people thinking and doing the best of themselves. Our society has reduced the majority of us to consuming slugs that, are happy with our beer, pizza, and TV, and that's not an insult. That seems to be what was done by design. So what is to be expected of many of the people, especially the youth, and the prospects for the future of these people is so obviously stolen, and there's just nothing for these people to work for. I mean, what do you expect? Of course, this is all my perspective, but those thoughts come to mind when I think about, one of the, to me, obvious things that would happen with people and the storm in Boston, and that some goofy, silly behavior would would occur. So back to 8,000 people have subscribed, whatever, and the significance to me is this. Number one, I just make the videos. I don't ask people to subscribe. I may have asked once or twice. I don't even ask people for subscriptions like I notice other people do sometimes. I just do this. And I'm very, very proud of the number, because some of the most popular and most populist video channels on the internet, where there's hundreds of thousands of subscribers, as you know, the mediocrity is the medium. So the highest numbers are, in general, some of the most inane, mindless channels. Things that I just won't touch with a 10-foot pole. I have no interest. I don't. A lot of inane entertainment, I just kind of just say no. I watch some, but there's a lot that is kind of like I'm saying, okay, I'm reserving my gray matter for a little something else. It's like it's just too blatant that the desire is for people to be stupid and distracted while life goes on, and the people that have the wherewithal can do whatever the fuck they want to do. I'm not going to be a mindless slug sheep, and that's not a diss. It looks by design to me. Okay, I'm repeating myself, am I not? But it's my channel, and these are the things that I want to just say besides talking about music. You know what I mean? Okay, so we'll talk about music because I know that that's what you're here for. So today is the February 18th, and so this is Yoko Ono's birthday. And I just listened to Two Sides of Fly by Yoko Ono. And the people who immediately jumped to make fun of her singing, that response to me is a cliche, because for those of us that know, Yoko Ono is a pioneer, and she had the big kahunas to be doing her thing long before anybody else. And a lot of people have imitated her yipping, singing, non-singing style from the B-52s on you name it, So I'm not hearing that noise about making jokes about Yoko Ono's not being her vocal talent. The woman is a pioneer. I got to see her a few years ago when they had the Japan Aid concert out in Los Angeles, and she sang with Yellow Magic Orchestra. It's fucking fantastic. Yeah, I'll use the F word. Okay. Been just getting into my roots of love for Canterbury-based music. Soft Machine, Robert Wyatt, Henry Cowell. I was reminded by one of the groups that I have this album called The Last Nightingale. And this is a limited edition 2,500 copy only release that was put together for to raise money for a miners' strike, I think in the UK in around 1984. And this has Chris Cutler, Robert Wyatt, Lindsay Cooper on one side, and on the other side it's Henry Cowell, and this is brilliant. If you like Robert Wyatt, Henry Cowell, you know what I'm talking about. This is not a throwaway. This is gave high quality performances for this. Excellent. Shout out to Brett Helm, because I showed this online today. Jeff Greinke, Cities in Fog, early ambient drone masterpiece. And this is on the Intrepid label, came out in '85, but he's also been on the Project label, same label that Brett Helm used to be on with Audra. Brett. This is just, it sounds like the cover, and I have played this album 1.5 times all the way through since it's been out. It's just, you take it and you put the needle back and time just evaporates while you're doing whatever you're doing, and this happens. This is fantastic. Jeff Greinke. Hopefully I'll remember to annotate the video, because I know that sometimes you can't understand what I'm saying real well. Some people can't. Played this today, Gentle Giant's first album. This is an original copy on UK Vertigo. It's not in super shape because I've had it a long time, but it's one of those, you know, Vertigo UK pressings are still like gold nuggets on the collector's international market. And this is one of those that can go for big dollars. But this is a great album, and I like it more now than I did when I first got it. I liked an acquired taste. That's when what they were doing for me at first really kicked in. This was still doing the bluesy hard rock soul thing quite a bit, actually, which now I appreciate more. And this album is really pretty kick butt. Gentle Giant. With that in mind, we were talking about it online in the Canterbury group, because Gentle Giant, even though it's not a Canterbury group, some folks were saying, well, you know, they think of the music as in a Canterbury light, and I agree, I do too. So I also had pulled this Simon Dupree and the Big Sound EP, Kites. Simon Dupree, this band was Gentle Giant before they changed, and this is a 1978 reissue of their single, which came out in, I think, maybe 68 originally, 1968 or 69. Kites. Pluramon, Render Bandits. Pluramon was a project fronted by German artist, I think it's Marcus Schickler. I got interested in this when I discovered that Jackie Liebezeit, the drummer from Can, played on here. And this is a really, really good, it moves slowly, but it has a very neat way that it moves melodically and mood-wise. This is highly recommended. Pluramon. Render Bandits. This came out in the 90s or early 2000s. I can't see here. Sometimes I think, okay, yeah, I can't see it from the inside. Kron, German band. I believe this is their second album, Winthrop. Second or third album. The cover is perfect. You know, this came out in 72 or 73, and it's just really just reeks of the hippiness of the time, which I love. That was my youth. You know, I graduated from high school in 1973, and I can just imagine being like these guys. I can imagine that the band were living together at the time of this, getting stoned a lot of rotating girlfriends, just good times, you know what I'm saying? It's just captured on the album, Winthrop. Really good album. Space Opera. I think the band is out of Texas. It's considered country rock, but there's prog moves on here. This is a great album. Some really wonderful harmonics going on vocally as well as guitars. Some interesting overdubbed guitars on here. Space Opera. Again, early 1970s. Yeah. besides other things, besides watching what's going on in the world and, trying to take care of business, I've just really been enjoying my record collection. And very consciously so, because I am at the age where people of the same age are selling things and thinking about passing things on. And it's like, that's not where I'm at all. I'm right in the middle of this. I'm enjoying this. I want to keep these records, damn it. I don't want to sell them. I especially don't want to sell them just to pay the frickin' bills. Soft Machine 6. It took me a long time to get a copy of this album, and I was waiting a long time because I've been wanting to get a really nice, clean copy, but I have never seen one at a price that I was willing to pay. So I finally broke down and got this one. And this is Soft Machine, Soft Machine is one of those bands that they started off rock, prog, went into jazz, and then into kind of some of the records are a little bit schmaltzy, and so there are these divided camps about what's Soft Machine and what's not. Well, the band is Soft Machine, and this is Soft Machine, and this is a good album, number 6. Jazz rock along the same lines, but not sounding like Soft Machine. Om, Kirikuki. Band led Freddie Studer, the drummer, and Christy Duran on guitar. I can't call to mind what band they were in before this one, but I know those names from the German rock scene. And this is on Japo, 1976. This is as much jazz as it is far out rock. There are rock elements. This is just badass, is what I think. I just think this is really good. Still sounds really fresh to me. Om, Kirikuki. And there's been several bands named Om over the years. On the heavier side, and I played a couple albums in this vein this week. Isis, Celestial. Turns out, and I looked this up, this is the 5th repressing of the album. It came out originally, I think, in about 2000. But this pressing, I want to show it because it's worth showing. Double album, nice icing or splatter vinyl, yellow, and this is one of the album designs that inspired me to want to do Flyover as a splatter, particularly this one, the red, because that's just so nice. And Isis I enjoy them. I have to be in the mood. I have no idea what the words are he's saying, and it just really doesn't matter. It's what I feel from the music and the movement of the music and the tone of everything. Good band. Isis. I would have more Isis if I could afford it. Isis, Celestial. Another heavy band, I'll grab that right quick because it kind of fits, that I was listening to, is Enslaved. This was some BCLT. I can almost call the fella's name. I really appreciate this. Retier, Enslaved. This is on copper colored vinyl. This band is badass. Very progressive. It's metal, but their approach to songwriting, harmonies, to me, very original sounding. And I know there's some connection to their, their history, their culture, somehow weaved into this. I love it. Retier by Enslaved. Let's keep it going. And this was an album that I pulled thinking, well, maybe this will be one that I'm going to put up for trade, because the last time I played it wasn't very satisfying, but it changed my mind. Radio Moscow, Brain Cycles. This actually is pretty tasty. These guys whip up a nice old-style blue cheer, MC5, Jimi Hendrix type of psychedelic guitar organ vibe on this, and this is the purple edition. It came out on several colors. My good friend Frank Zacconi gave this to me for Christmas one year. I remember this. I remember that about this now. That's where I got this. And as a record collector, after a while, you know, depending, giving away, or rather trading gifts, you know, you got to do what you got to do, you know. But I'm keeping this. Here's a survivor from my second original. My record collection has probably gone in at least 3 tiers of, like, the first collection as a child, you know, starting when I was maybe like 8 or 9, and then, you know, right about 14, I went through this big trauma with my sister and destroyed a bunch of records I really didn't want to. And then that led to the second wave of my record collection, which this is a survivor of, because then there was a big purge sell in my early 20s when I was having some problems mentally, you know, really trying to deal with religion. I've talked about it in older videos. But this is an album that survived. Andrew Lay, Magician. There's proof of it. I used to write my name as a kid on my records, you know. I'd just get bored and write it again, and I'd write my name again, you know. Especially if I liked the record. I love this album. Members of Spooky Tooth, Blossom Toes, Le Fleur de Lis make up this album. Maybe 1968, no, 1970 is when this came out. Magician is the right title for this. It has that magical kind of misty flavor and sound that would just captured my imagination here in Omaha, in the middle of black Omaha. This would just transport me to a, you know, a place where it's just like I needed to get away, you know, get away from the, you know, the squalor, you know. You know, there's a lot of beauty in life, but I just think it's worth pointing out that, you know, there's a lot that you deal with not being on top in America, especially being a minority, you know. And back in the 60s and 70s, you know, if you weren't alive at that time, you know, it's like you don't know, you know, because society wants to forget. And when it's really brought up, you know, people want to act like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Yes, it was. And this music helped me to save my sanity. Andrew Lay, Magician. Fantastic. Love this album. A Canterbury-related album that a lot of people, not a lot, but several people, it turns out, in the Canterbury group knew nothing about, and then others did. The Ghoulies, Dogged by Dogma. Canterbury being musicians related to Soft Machine, Hatfield and the North, Gong. On this album, Dave Stewart and Pip Pyle play. The band was led by a guy named Charlie Summers, who I knew nothing about. But this does fit in musically to that progressive sound. Great album. And I knew nothing about them, still very little, but it turns out someone in the Canterbury group had actually seen this band play live and got his copy signed. He bought it at the show. I love hearing stuff like that because for me, for the longest, this was like, well, I'm the only one that has a copy. I know nothing about this except, you know, the music, which it's great. The Ghoulies, Dogged by Dogma. Some quote-unquote what they call krautrock. I don't like that term, and so I don't generally use it. It's used, you know, but Wallenstein, No More Love. This is a band that's a German band. And some of the early bands are real krautrocky, you know, as far as the sound. This one is still progressive, but it's getting more accessible. I think it's a great cover. Definitely one that would capture your attention, you know. If you're walking through a store and you happen to see this, it's like, what? No More Love. Mythos, another German band that comes out of the space rock history. This is a picture disc of their album Concrete City, and this is like definitely not space rock. This is kind of so-so. I came across this, and it's like Mythos picture disc. Well, of course, I had the money to buy it, and so I did. So that's a keeper. There are other two albums though, Dream Lab and the first one, which I've shown in past videos. Those are the ones. Another Canterbury related album because I've been talking to those people so much online. Q Roan by John Greaves, Peter Blegvad, and Lisa Herman. This album is fantastic. And Peter Blegvad just wrote a book about the album because the words, what he does with words on this is like it probably is the first time it was done in quote-unquote rock music. It'd be hard for me to explain, but he does things with words like, you know, oh geez, what is the word? I'd have to look it up. But I understand more now the word play going on with the music. But the music is so original and clever even that without completely understanding what they're going on about, which I do though, it's just fantastic. Q Roan by John Greaves, Peter Blegvad, Lisa Herman. Incredible album. Incredible. Yeah, it's like, okay, and then I actually listened to a bit of classical music, and this one stayed out. Didn't get all the way through it, though, but Symphonie Fantastique, which I like, Berlioz. And this is with Karajan and the Berlin Philharmonic. Good rendition of it. Rare Bird, English prog band that, again, has, similar to early Gentle Giant, that you hear that soul, black soul influence, where these guys probably started out in their early days playing R&B and then moved into more of a progressive sound. Rare Bird is Your Mind Flies By. Another early one, maybe 69, 1970. At times this band reminds me, they don't sound like it, and yet their sound reminds me of Van der Graaf Generator at times on this particular album. Made to Measure was a series of records put out by the Cram Disc label out of Belgium. That this would be a series that I would love to this day to have them all. I just have maybe 4 or 5. Every album in the series is really, really excellent. This one is a collaboration between Blaine Reininger from the band Tuxedo Moon and Michael Rouse. He had a band called Therese. Colorado Suite. This is fantastic. This is in the Steve Reich, Philip Glass, Terry Riley unfolding, cyclical, cascading sort of sound. This is wonderful. I wish I could play this music for you. I really like Tom York's stuff. Atoms for Peace, Judge, Jury, and Executioner. It was just played the 12-inch. I don't have the full-length album on vinyl. I do have it on my computer. Good songs. Good work. These are still out. I just told you about Saw and Slim Vic, and these definitely get my vote. I've played them again since I made the video. Talked about these, didn't I? Yeah, now I'm down. Okay, I talked about these. I sure did. All right. So, and it's 29 minutes. Perfect. So, thank you. I will thank folks. You know, if my financial situation were different, I'd have a contest and give something away. Perhaps it's rude to even say that, you know, but that's me, so I did say it. But because it crossed my mind. But I just want to thank you folks. It's great that you're with me, that we somehow connect. To me, it makes sense that we connect. Even though I'm sitting in this room by myself talking to this camera, I am not talking to myself. in my mind, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you. Even though I am not actually, but you can feel it, can't you? You know, it's because in my perception and my reality, and again, I say it a lot, we live in our own reality. A lot of people don't understand that. Life is really just conscious. It's what the brain is, it's what our senses are perceiving. And in my perception, in my consciousness, I experience in real time the real connection. I understand that, life is the physical reality that we're in, as real as it is, it's an illusion that there is no separation. We are one. That's reality to my mind. You know what I'm saying? Years ago when they were talking about dark matter scientifically, it just came to me that, well, dark matter isn't dark matter. Dark matter, that's what God is, and dark matter isn't empty. And, I keep, trying to understand and learn more about quantum physics and stuff. And, the idea of dark matter to me is kind of obsolete, because it's like the emptiness is not emptiness. It's consciousness creates reality. It's there, but it's like, if it's not being observed, then how is it being equated or quantified? If there's not an observer, how does one know that there's anything to be observed? I grasp this, I know it goes much further than that, but that feeds into my headspace about doing the videos, realizing that, we're in this field of reality, we're not separate, we're the same thing, which also causes me to get ranty like I do about the way that we are playing out this script on planet Earth, which is just very mad. Like, for example, I'm an American, and the upcoming election already, it's obvious who we're stuck with for choices, which means we don't have a choice. The people don't have a choice. We don't have shit to say about this. We're stuck with Clinton and Bush again. And from my perspective, which I keep trying to explain very clearly, from my perspective, that is not a choice for the average American, especially someone of my skin color. The fact that you have a brown-skinned, big-eared guy named Barry Soetoro as a president now means shit to me, and it does not mean anything about. It has nothing to do with relationships in America being better between the elite and the common, and that's really where it's at, because it's not even, the old, the racism is there, but it's really just ultimately about mad, what is the word? The idea that we deserve this, that we're deserving, we're privileged, we're above, people are expendable. That's why that the CIA, it's proven, I'm not making this up, the CIA created ISIS. Every time you turn around, the United States and the globalists are creating enemies to fight for blood money, because they duped us into it in the other world, the other wars, tricked the people into going into war for lies. And here we are again, and that's why I get like this. I get upset about it, because it's like my consciousness understands that we are one. And so with that sort of understanding, it just really softens the idea of being so selfish as to just, well, I've got this. Saying, for example, imagining I'm a rich person. I mean, very, very rich. I own, a third of the resources on the entire country. And I just, well, I've earned it. I have it. I want to hold on to it. And so everything else is expendable. It's like people aren't even people anymore. We're just we're pawns, like in a chess game. This is all nothing new. You guys know it, but I just express it, because of my consciousness and watching the way that things are going now. As I was saying, like with this war talk, it's like it's insane, Here in Omaha, the major AM radio station, KFAB, so redneck, so Republican. They don't, they'd never admit it, but they're just mindless puppets in the propaganda scheme. For example, I listen because it's my routine. I listen to the radio in the morning, always have, before I would go to work for 30 plus years. And so I still do. And the guys, the morning jocks, yeah, every morning they make me tear my hair out. But it's because of they just so play their part the way that they're every morning now they're talking about those maniacs, ISIS, and they're beheading people, and what are we going to do about it? It's like, they talk about it like it's just like, this is like, and no talk about the other part about the fact that we caused this. Our country, I'm saying we because I live in the United States. I didn't. I don't want no part of it. But the United States, because of their botched, and also the shit that the CIA, the Dulles brothers, and all those people, and all this history that it's all documented. It's not conspiracy. It's all what's been going on. They've been doing this shit. It's all coming home to roost. How in the world can these people truly expect to be exceptions to the rule, which is, when you tell a lie, then you tell another lie to cover the other lie. And we all know, don't we? Especially as we were taught as children, that lying doesn't work, and it always catches up with you. Why would the rule be different for governments, for institutions? Because that's what's going on. Why do war doesn't work, and this propaganda trying to whip up patriotic frenzy and make people sign up and go to die just so rich people can continue to make money. It does appear to me that many people are saying, wait a minute, that just that's not washing, It's just got a lot to do with where I'm coming from, because I see, that mankind is one, and if to me, from my perspective, thinking from a humane way, which is I'd like to get along with people, If I were in a leadership position, I would be moving more in that direction, because this linear path of profit, and more, we're at the edge of this cliff, figuratively speaking, where it's like, well, we're just going to go over the edge because, that's really not even wise. When you look at nature and the cyclical nature of how things work, and you work into that Fibonacci number, how things regenerate, it's like, well, if leaders weren't so greed oriented and so, we could start to put this on the table and say, we've got to rework this to survive. But no, we're stuck with these mad fuckers. Mad, power-hungry fuckers. That's how I see them. Whatever it is, I don't know, that it doesn't figure into the equation that somehow makes it okay for so many people, because it's like it's just going on, and a lot of people you never hear a peep. It's, oh, if you asked them, they'd say, oh, economy's kind of fucked up, but everything's fine. It's like, no, that's not what I see, and that's not what I'm feeling. So, I'm getting ready to sign off. Rob, if you're still with me, thanks for hanging with me. I feel necessary to share these thoughts and ideas, especially, thinking about you, Rob, because like you say, you've told me you don't watch the news much, and this sort of line of thinking isn't where you're coming from in your life, and haven't. And I do want to share this line of thinking with folks such as you, because it's like we need each other to be conscious. We really need each other to help move things in a better direction, because right now, stop and think about it, Rob. You and I are single. The kids that I helped raise are grown now. I have a granddaughter, so I think about that. But think about if you had children. Right now, the way that the globalist government is going, are they setting up a future for our children, or have they robbed it lock, stock, and barrel? The answer is yes. They've already stole it. You'd be such a liar to tell a little 3-4-year-old, well, this is, you've got a bright future ahead. This is, you're going to go to school and get a good job. All the kids in school now, and all the kids keep coming out of school now, can't get jobs. And we just keep going. That's why I keep bringing this up. It's like, is the plot working so well? Are we somatized because of television and all these other things that our minds are numb to critical thinking about? Well, this is a mess that the world is in, and each one of us could possibly affect it. I don't know what to do except to ponder it, because I keep thinking this can lead to something just talking and not just thinking, and finding ways of acting and not in a civil unrest way. That's inevitable, that things are going to break down into chaos. I'm already trying to think about solutions beyond the chaos. That's why I do this, is because it's like, yeah, the breakdown is inevitable. It's like, the breakdown is inevitable, but if our leaders were as smart as they say they are, I think we'd have more of them saying, okay, we got to get a grip on this. We got to start getting this up on the table now. But we can't, because people are still stuck on what they have to lose. That's what it looks like to me. It's like, the power game goes on. This shit is relevant. Thank you again, folks. Almost 8,000. Maybe by the time the video is loaded up, it will be 8,000. Who knows? Maybe people will unsubscribe and take me in the opposite direction. People do what they want. I'm just saying, thank you for being with me.